Hello and welcome to After School Special. This is the Miss Marvel reaction show from the Comic Crush. I am your host, Paul. You can catch me at Comic Crush Paul on Twitter and Insta. With me, as always, is Liz, who you can find at Liz C. Jordan on Twitter and Instagram, if that's your type of thing. We're here to talk about the first episode of the new Disney Plus Miss Marvel show. Before we get into it, I do have to say, if you like the show, please do subscribe because we'll be doing lots of these shows. We've got loads on there already. Our most recent one was the Moon Knight reaction show, which we called Moon Knighting, or someone else called Moon Knighting for us. Yeah, if you hit the like button, that helps me and the channel immensely. You can also check out the comiccrush.com for loads of, sort of comics news, reviews, film, TV stuff. Again, it all helps us out, so would be immensely grateful for that. You can also catch some of Liz's writing on lizcjordan.com, which is her very own website. Do give that a look because it's really good. So, Liz, Miss Marvel. We have to say we have a sort of tangential personal connection to this, right?
Yeah, via orbital, correct?
Yeah.
Or
So the writer Bisha K. Ali, who before she was a TV writer used to come into to Orbital and buy Miss Marvel comics, and which is something I only just found out. It was in a recent issue of Empire magazine. And although I wouldn't know them from Adam, so I just it was kind of nice to hear that. So yeah, that was quite kind of pleasing to hear. So we do have kind of a tangential collection, and I do remember a lot of people in the shop being fans of the original comic run. The character,
massive, like super popular. We sold so many copies of that book, and we
yeah. But
recommend it.
I was just talking about staff in general were quite sort of enthused by the comic when it came out. I didn't get to read it when it first came out. You I think did. You read some, right?
I'm not a I dip in and out of it. I read the first arc. I really liked it. And it was just like an easy recommend to make because it's really good. It's really accessible. It was really great for like younger readers, especially younger female readers who wanted an access point with Marvel characters. And I would recommend it all the time.
Could you do me a favor, Liz? Sorry, quick tech check. Would you mind just having a look at your microphone settings and stuff for me? Sounds a bit odd. Sorry, guys. This is something we should check just before we started. It is entirely my fault, and I do apologise. But the sound's coming through just a little funny, and obviously I want you viewers to have the best experience possible. Although, it might be too late for that. I'm on the show after all.
Yeah, I think it's too late for that, unfortunately. My blue microphone isn't actually even showing up in the drop down, so never mind.
No.
Yeah.
Oh no. So sorry guys, you're just gonna have to put up with this for a little bit. Hopefully by next episode we'll have it figured out. So very sorry. Just turn the volume up whenever Liz speaks. So yeah, I mean it was kind of nice to find that sort of quasi tangential personal connection to it. Having not been a comic I read, and I really didn't know what to expect with this show beyond I think I saw one trailer. In fact, I think they only put out one trailer, right? I mean,
as far as I know, I will watch a trailer. I might even watch 2 trailers, but beyond that, if they start releasing clips and stuff, I don't want to see those until I've seen I want to see it in the show.
Yeah, you're actually really good for that. I mean, I'm okay with watching, all kinds of stuff on it. I'm not okay with people out and out spoiling stuff.
Right.
Because I think there's an art to kind of trailer making now that is very kind of misleading, but in the best way possible. But I mean, I'm not okay with people out and out going, and in this one, her mother dies, or what I mean. I'm not like it's like, please don't do that. I think that's like kind of the height of crappy fan behavior. But like, I'm okay watching multiple trailers and stuff. Partly because I have to, because of the website, and partly just because, you know, as I said, I do think there's an art to kind of misleading the audience, and I'm always impressed when I see the final product. And it's like, oh yeah, you kind of took that from there and that from there, and you made it look like they were the same thing, but they weren't. I like the sleight of hand of it. But yeah, you're much better at kind of avoiding spoilers. So did you manage to completely avoid everything for this?
For the most part, beyond watching like I think whatever the first big trailer was that dropped a little while ago, I watched that. You know, and yeah, that's as much as I felt like I needed to see. You know, before watching it, and I'm glad, you know, because I'd rather be surprised, you know, and kind of experience it, you know, as much as possible, you know, through the show itself.
So, I mean, as I said, not read the comics. I hear nothing but good things from people. I'd like to. I've got some of them sort of queued up digitally, and I'm gonna take a look as soon as I get the chance. I hope that I'll get the chance before the series ends. So you know, this first episode directed by Adil El Arab and Bilal Fallah, who also I was surprised to find out directed Bad Boys for Life, which is kind of quite a world away from this. And a very different. I don't know if you've seen that. If that's your,
I think I have, like, ages ago. I mean, yeah, but I like, you know, hey, like I'm all for the Bad Boys movies. I mean, you know, quite entertaining.
Yeah. But that movie in itself was quite different from the other Bad Boys movies, and in fact, you know, was. I think when I came out of that at the time, I was just like, that was better than it deserved to be, really. Or had any real right to be, being like the third film of a not particularly amazing series. But you could see that they're good directors with some sort of panache, and Bishakar Ali is someone who's writing, I don't know, but, you know, I think she did a great job here.
She worked on, I think she did a few episodes of Loki, I want to say.
Oh, right. Okay. I didn't know that.
She worked on Loki to some capacity, and I feel like it was as a screenwriter.
Okay. Thank you. I had no idea. Yeah. So, I mean, sitting down to watch this, how did you feel about the show?
Well, I mean, I'd been excited for the show. I always am, you know, when it comes to Marvel shows. You know, I feel like she's an important character. I feel like she, you know, she has been an important character, you know, for a lot of people, you know, and has become immensely popular, you know, as a result, because she hasn't been around for that long. I think the first Ms. Marvel came out in like 2014, something like that. So, you know, really a relatively new character. You know, who just happened to become like a massive hit. And I feel like she definitely represents something, you know, different, you know, that I feel like, you know, it's, you know, very, very smart of them to just like kind of rush her right to the forefront, you know, in becoming a part of the cinematic universe, especially considering that they seem to, you know, be kind of slowly be, you know, working their way toward building up like a younger cast of characters.
And I mean, to just digress for a moment, I don't know if you've heard the news, although I'm sure you have, that apparently the Young Avengers movie has been given a go-ahead.
Oh, I know. I mean, it doesn't surprise me at all, but
it just seems to be. I mean, the basic line is, at the moment, yes, there is a Young Avengers movie coming. Yes, they've got a director, but it's all happening very secretly and very quietly.
Right, which is smart, you know.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing. I expect there to be a Thunderbolts movie, but they haven't made that official yet.
Or maybe it's Thunderbolts I'm thinking of. Sorry.
Well, I don't know. I mean, Young Avengers, Thunderbolts. It seems very obvious that that's, you know, kind of what they're doing. You know, either Thunderbolts or Dark Avengers, but, you know, one or the other. you know, I feel like, you know, just we've talked about this before, just, you know, the way that they've seeded all those characters into, you know, the shows and the films. You know, it just makes perfect sense that, you know, they would try and, you know, kind of get that underway sooner than later.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, I'm totally down to see it, even though I don't really know the Young Avengers or the Thunderbolts, to be brutally honest.
See, I'm a big fan of both. You know,
Right.
I've you know, since the first Young Avengers series came out, you know, I was reading that, you know, right from the beginning, and it's, you know, it's great. It's really, really great. And you know, it's just a very smart move for them to be, you know, putting a younger cast in the forefront, because a lot of their, you know, like a lot of the guys who've been there from the beginning are kind of being, you know, not phased out, but you know, eventually, like, you know, Downey Jr. is done, or you know, says he's done. Chris Evans says he's done. You know, they need like new blood. You know, so it's a clever way to, you know, to get that going and have characters that can be, you know, sort of you know, at the forefront of the stories for the next, you know, long period of time, hopefully.
And having, you know, I mean, having now watched this first episode, I mean, it's difficult only going on the strength of the first episode. But for me, you know, what an episode. Like,
really,
I was really blown away by this. And I've said in kind of tweets and stuff, I'm not the target demographic for this at all. However, there are things you can relate to in any thing. So we all know what it's like to have been teenagers. We all, I think, at one time or another, a lot of us, especially those of us that read comics, know what it's like to have been ostracized and, you know, maybe on the receiving end of some unpleasant stuff from schoolmates and things. And I think those are the things I kind of connected to on one level, and then on another level, I just like the charm and the innocence of it. Like, I just really liked it. I just thought it was super cute.
Yeah,
And
you know, she's a very sheltered kid, you know, as well. Like a lot of 16-year-olds are out there going to parties and, you know, being a little bit wild. Where it's like, you know, she's kind of exceptionally innocent in that, you know, she's got this very, you know, sort of strict family. She's not allowed to kind of go out and do, you know, things that some of her peers are doing.
And I found one of the most the interesting things that you can connect to in this, and I guess maybe I don't know if you connected to this a bit more than I did, but just the fandom element was really nice and really sweet, and I like the way that was done. Although I have to say, Avengers Con looked a bit cheap to me. Felt they could have splashed a bit more cash on Avengers Con.
I mean, you know, it's for one episode of a TV series. I think that you know, their budget probably, you know, is better spent on special effects and stuff like that.
I mean, yeah, good. Can you imagine if they tried to film any of that at a real con?
No, I mean, you know, I had no problem with it. I really thought it looked fine. You know, having been to enough cons, I mean, it's, you know, it looked like they had plenty of stuff going on there. You know, she got to take all sorts of fun photos in like the Hulk's hand and, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah, it was cool. I liked it. I mean, just going back to like the family dynamic was quite good. I liked how what it kind of gave you was this sort of look at the kind of I guess you could say the Muslim faith, but across different generations, and how, you know, because you have that thing where even the father is chiding the elder son for praying too much, and you know, stuff like that. And they're kind of comfortable with their religion to the point where it becomes a sort of, it is just part of their daily life, you know. And I think that's the same for a lot of people who are quite religious. I mean, I don't know, because, you know, only one of my parents was religious and they weren't around that much, so I never really got exposed to that except at sort of primary school and things. So I found that stuff quite interesting, and also, you know, I guess it goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway. It is important to have, positive portrayals of the Muslim faith in entertainment. I think that works really well. But it also showed the kind of more. I mean, it's not even a religious thing. I think parents, by their nature, restrict their children, right?
Sure.
I mean,
right. And some families are stricter than others, regardless of what their faith is. But I certainly do think that it is part of the culture, that basically there is a certain expectations, that might apply to a Muslim teenage girl that would might not apply to a teenage girl from a non-religious family.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think that's kind of that's an interesting point. I mean, it would be kind of interesting later on if you see that some of the other people come from religious backgrounds, but those more Western religion backgrounds. I'd be interested to see if that kind of comes across. But I really liked the. I mean, what beyond the characterization. And I love the fact that her little pal's got kind of a crush on her and all that, and it's kind of I found that quite sweet and innocent, and that was nicely done, and because they didn't kind of overplay that hand in the first episode, and I really liked what really kind of got me about this was the execution of the show was just nearly perfect. You know what I mean? Like it was very imaginative, and I liked the kind of where the city becomes a playground almost, and it's kind of taking that thing of I don't know if you remember the movie Panic Room, right? So the opening credits of the movie Panic Room where the credits are huge against the city. And I remember David Fincher talking about that and saying, hey, what I wanted to do was, what if you couldn't go down Fifth Avenue because the Spider-Man credits were in your way and stuff like that. And it takes that and then jumps it back a bit where it makes their text and their kind of relationship part of the city. And in a way, it gives them possession and ownership of the area they live in and connecting them to the area they live in this really unique way. And I really liked that. Where the text messages are part of the neon signs or graffiti or, in the animation that was used. And all of that stuff had this really wonderful kind of handmade feel that made you think, yeah, this is, you can see the hand that made it. Do you know what I mean? Whether that's Kamala or a buddy, but also you can also see the hand of the directors. And I really love that. Like, I just superb. And I mean, I hope they can pull that off. I mean, I depending on what takes place in the show, I hope they can carry on doing that.
Okay, so, I have a different feeling about that. Funnily enough.
Okay, no.
I mean, I think you made some really interesting points about it that I actually think do apply. And I think of course, you have that opening sequence that that shows you that Kamala, she is a creative person who she makes these little short animated films, like kind of very DIY but really well done and cute, and most of them are probably going to be centered around Captain Marvel or the Avengers in some way. And so she in the comics she writes fan fiction. Yeah. But here it seems like they've given her like a YouTube channel, and this is kind of her creative outlet for that stuff and her storytelling. And she's got this big imagination, and so in that way I did like the kind of like that fantasy element that you kind of know that she's always in her head, and they kept kind of emphasizing that even when she's sitting across from her school guidance counselor who's trying to talk to her brain is already sort of off in another direction, or she's a big daydreamer. So I think it worked really well in that way, but I personally hope that they start to play that down I hope that they
Oh,
don't
okay.
overplay that throughout the rest of the series, because as much as I thought it was kind of like a charming thing to do, in the first episode, I feel like it could get a bit distracting. I did find myself being distracted by it throughout scenes where I was like, sort of like, well, I'm trying to like just pay attention to their conversation as they're walking down the street, but I'm also like, sort of watching all these like, unicorns hopping across the buildings and, stuff that distracted me a little, pulled me out of the story a little.
Now, my feeling on that is that is the conversation. Do you know what I mean? The unicorns up across the building, the neon signs, that is the conversation, and that's what you should be paying attention to, because that's where, a lot of people's life, and I know you can appreciate this as a concept, and I certainly can. A lot of people's lives are in their head. They're not on the exterior level. They're what goes on,
Mm-hmm. I know, I get that. I totally, which is why I prefaced it by saying that, yeah, she's a big daydreamer, she's got a big imagination, but me as a viewer, I'm just saying, it made it a little bit of a messy, viewing experience for me, where I felt like I was kind of, my attention was divided a little too much to take either thing in properly. Just in terms of how much they decide to use it. I felt in the first episode, they used it a lot. And I kind of hope that, it's going to be more of an occasional feature in the show. Especially with the texting and stuff. I feel like, like some, that was I thought it was neat, but I hope every time they're texting each other, I'm not going to have to be looking at walls and lampposts and stuff like that.
I feel completely differently about it, but okay. I mean, for me, it was kind of a leap on from, has been this sort of unconscious thing happening in movies, and I guess it is just and TV, and I guess it's just a matter of one person sees it and then someone else goes, oh, that's good, we'll kind of yoink that, and then everyone does it. Where there was a great video online about this as well. I think it was Nerdwriter did a great thing on saying that watching someone type out a message with the camera on the screen of the phone is boring. However, swinging the camera around and seeing them type and having the message pop up above their heads or down is a lot more interesting. And I felt visually interesting, and I just felt it was a leap up from that. It was kind of a okay, that was that, and this is the next phase of that, and we're kind of innovating and we're moving forward with that. And I really liked it because of that, and also because it didn't look like anything else in the MCU.
Sure.
There's never been anything that looks like that, and I guess it's because of the age of the protagonists as well, that it wouldn't be applicable. Like, you wouldn't want to see that. You wouldn't see Tony and I mean, some people would. I'm sure there's plenty of fan fiction that would love Tony and Steve to be little bubbles coming up here. Pop, pop.
Well, here's the thing. I actually thought about this. You and I both watched a really fantastic comics adaptation recently called Heartstopper.
Yeah.
Okay. I really liked, because they do that a lot. They actually, like, the texting is a big thing in that show, and I really liked the way they did it. Because I felt like that was, it was more visually interesting than just watching them type on the phone, which you did do to a certain extent, but you had the text pop up. You could see whether someone was typing or not. I felt like that was done perfectly, where it wasn't distracting for me in any way, but I understood exactly what was going on, so I mean, I'm not saying that, every show should do it that way, but I felt like that was the best I've seen it done.
Okay. That's interesting. I was trying to think what it reminded me of, and yeah, it is definitely Heartstopper, really. And also, I think I've got a feeling it was a component in, I want to say, the movie Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl.
Sure, yeah.
Which again had that very rough handmade feel, and I kind of loved that movie more because of that. And I just think it was a big sort of component for me as to why I enjoyed this episode, and certainly, hopefully, why I'm going to enjoy the rest of the show, because I just generally wasn't. I mean, I went in kind of not really expecting anything, and to a certain extent now, I do feel with the MCU stuff, and I know you don't necessarily agree with this, but variety is the spice of life, and that's it's okay for us to disagree on this, which is that you are just watching this thing so you can get to that thing, and I would say that the style and approach of the show made it feel like a thing by and of itself, and that I kind of really liked about it.
I do like that about it. I like that it feels very, very, distinct amongst MCU shows and films. Although like there was a little bit of that, that like especially during some of the like credit sequences and stuff of the Spider-Man films, where they added a little animated kind of DIY teenager-ish, flourishes.
And in a way, you kind of feel them taking that baton and running with it, and kind of this is going to be the look for this tiny little quadrant of the MCU, and then that's going to be the thing for that quadrant, and I think it's okay to have a sort of stylistic dictation for different areas of the MCU, and also it helped make it kind of an antidote to the some of the quite dark stuff we'd just seen in Moon Knight. Did you see that they'd added Moon Knight to the opening the MCU logo at the beginning now?
Oh no, I actually did not notice that. That's what.
So he's there. I think he's up there in like the M. You see him briefly.
Right.
So
great.
Yeah. I mean, moving on to sorry, because I don't want to harp on just about the look of the show, obviously. Moving on to Kamala herself. I mean, again, my only exposure to this character has been kind of guest spots in other comics and things. I don't really know her as a character. And I was glad to get this chance to kind of be introduced to at least this version anyway. Going through this thing where she's a young woman being told how to be by various voices, and none of those necessarily completely satisfactory to her. And you kind of get the feeling it's someone who just wants to be left alone, not left alone, but just wants to
figure out her own path, a little bit. Whereas it seems like everybody else wants to figure out her path for her.
Yeah.
Or force her to figure it out in
4 days. Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of days. Right. She's got a lot of expectation placed upon her from her parents, from her school guidance counselor. It just seems that she from her community. Because,
absolutely, yeah.
As she mentions, when they go out, your mother takes her out shopping. She's got all these like aunties, which is basically just the other women in the neighborhood, whether they're related or not. It's all one very close knit community, and they're they're apparently a bit judgmental of their it seems like they're all up in each other's businesses. They like to gossip. They're talking about this one of the local young women in the community has decided to take a year off to go traveling instead of getting married at you would expect a very sort of fresh out of high school or fresh out of college or that sort of age. And they've got nothing nice to say about her decisions. So Kamala's feeling pressure, even though they're not even talking about her. She feels okay. Well, they're going to judge me the same way. This other girl is being judged if I decide to make a decision like that. So it seems like she's got a lot of pressure on her to be a certain way.
And it's not kind of I mean that I don't think we know as people living in quite a kind of non-religious or even semi-religious Western kind of thing know what those pressures are like. Although there are pressures, so not discounting anyone's experience. But it's interesting stuff to see, and also it's a lot of pressure when you're 16. I mean, as I think you pointed out, it's kind of that's probably a bit much. But I quite liked her sort of handling of that, and actually kind of speaking her mind, and kind of going, well, no, good for her. I'm glad she's run off and kind of going off and finding herself and things. But I really liked her as a character. Like, I really thought she was incredibly well played by Iman Vellani, and not an actor I've seen before.
She really hasn't been in much. I looked her up. I always try, if I'm not familiar with the actor, I usually do a little digging. She really doesn't have sort of a big back catalog, but I think she just got the role off like a Zoom audition.
Right.
Is what I read, and part of what charmed the casting director was the fact that her entire bedroom where she was filming the Zoom audition was plastered with Avengers, so she is in fact a giant Marvel fangirl.
Yeah, I really like that element of it, and the sort of meta commentary you can place within that. But I guess that's everyone's ultimate ideal when you start reading comics or watching these movies is, how do I get involved in that? And I think it kind of drives what we do a lot. And despite the complaints I have about Marvel movies and all kind of movies, really, but it does drive that stuff. So it's nice when someone kind of breaks out and you can go, well done, kid. It is always satisfying to see. And I liked the kind of, I love the relationship with her buddy and how sweet that was, and her sort of friend circle. And I hope to see more of them kind of as we progress. And it's interesting you're talking about the sewing circle, the aunties, right? I mean, because in a way, I kind of got a sense that the sort of gossiping about other people in the neighborhood, that was their fandom.
Right.
That's there.
That's what they fixate on. And
the weddings are their Avengers Con. And
right. Right.
It's kind of this one big circle, and I think in a way the parents' kind of failure to recognise that is where they kind of start to clash with
right, because she actually, she at first she wouldn't even think of asking them, but her friend tries to convince her, oh, we'll just ask them, see if they'll say yes. And the way she explains it is, oh, well, yep, it's educational, it's empowering, this and that. And her mom's takeaway is, so you want to go to a party and stay out all night and wear a tight costume,
Although I do have to question, because most cons are daytime things and they're done by about 6-7 p.m. I do have to question why this con was going on at like 8 p.m. 9 p.m. and stuff. Like
right,
whoever's organising Avengers Con,
right, but
check your stuff out, because
right, but it's like what she's trying to say is just completely lost in translation to her mom. Who's only, the only thing she walks away from it with is that, it's her out, partying and, wearing skimpy clothes and, so it's, it's not what, what Kamal is trying to pitch it as at all.
No, and it's interesting how it takes in the kind of stuff like being comfortable with your own body and bullying and stuff like that quite subtly without kind of laboring the point. And even her bully isn't that bullying, and I mean I like that whole stuff where she doesn't really recognize her as when she's dressed as Captain Marvel. And did you? I mean, it was going to be kind of obvious the moment you saw that bracelet. It was just like, okay, this is gonna be the thing,
right? Which of course is totally different than what it is in the comics. Which in the comics, it gets revealed that she's an Inhuman, and that's where she gets her powers. So this was a big bone of contention for people when the first trailer came out. Was her power set and where it comes from and all of that, because it's a big change from the the comics equivalent of what her powers are and where they came from. So yeah, people complaining. I have no problem with it. Like, I mean, I don't know. Are you familiar with her traditional power set?
Vaguely, but also there were elements of those powers in.
Yeah.
You see the kind of. I mean, I don't know if it's meant to be like. I'm going to show my complete Marvel ignorance here, but if it's meant to be like Mr. Fantastic, where she stretches and kind of
basically, yeah,
becomes, and that there are elements of that there, and I remember, look, funny enough, Steph watched this with me, and she never watches any of these shows, but her kind of takeaway at the end was, "Are they all like this?" Was the first thing, to which I kind of went, "No," but and she went, "Oh, I want to keep watching this." So so it's interesting that this is the one we're going to watch together, because she's maybe sat and watched 2 of the Marvel movies with me. Like we saw Black Panther. And she watched a couple of the Spider-Man ones. We watched a couple of those together. The Tom Holland Spider-Man ones. But she's not really interested beyond that. So, and that's fine,
Yeah, which I think Ms. Marvel is great for people who don't, that this is just like an entry point or something they just want to dip in for this particular one, because it is like, as of now, as long as as long as you live out in the world and know who the Avengers are, then like that's all you need, like, because, and even if you didn't, I think it does a nice little job of explaining, what the Avengers mean to her. Just through that little animated short, which I think there's going to be a series of them. I kind of did a little Googling, and apparently that's like, there's like going to be a 10-part series of those little animated shorts. Awesome. Yeah. So I don't know.
I think there's a nice little 5-minute thing about the Miss Marvel fans on Disney Plus now, which I haven't had a chance to watch yet. And it's great that it's that sort of it could be like the gateway drug for people, Yeah. So I'm certainly looking forward to more from this. And in a way, the kind of, we are shifting into the sort of more magical arena of the MCU at the moment. So we've had the 10 rings, we've gone through Multiverse Madness. So the bracelet, wherever that came from, is certainly keeping with that. So I'd like to I hope they're going to reveal more about this. Did you stick around for the post credits?
Yes, scene? I did. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't actually expecting there to be one in the first episode. Like usually they kind of hold off until further in to throw in a post credits, but.
And we don't know who these characters are yet. I mean, I know the actors. We have the guy who plays Stewie from Succession, and I don't know if you know the actress, but she played the warden in the first few seasons of Orange Is the New Black, and she's really good. In fact, they both are. They're both terrific actors. Sorry.
No, actually, one of them, the male agent, was we have seen him before.
Have we?
Spider-Man No Way Home.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like so they're agents from Damage Control.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Right. And they kind of were keeping some tabs on like Peter and his friends in No Way Home. Now the female agent is, I think, is an introduction, is a new addition for this series, but yeah, so that is, who has their eye on Kamala.
I really don't. Yeah, it's like these times when I really regret not having the encyclopedic memory of Liz here for MCU cameos. But that's great. Some more Damage Control could be interesting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think this is one of the shows where for the first time I don't feel confident enough to make any predictions about what's going to be next.
Me neither, honestly. Like I said, I've read the first arc of Captain Marvel. I dip in, for the odd issue or Ms. Marvel rather. But I don't know, whether they're going to stick to a particular storyline or what they're going to do. I want to be surprised. So I'm quite happy to just kind of see how it plays out.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I'm really looking forward to it. I genuinely kind of enjoyed watching this, and really kind of I'm interested to see where it goes. It's an interesting time because you know you've got two major shows running right now on Disney Plus, the two major shows, which are Obi-Wan and this, and they're running them on the same day, which I was really
I think that's so weird.
surprised that they kept Obi-Wan. First, they shifted Obi-Wan to the Wednesday, and I thought it would be a temporary thing, and it's just like, well, next week it's going to jump back over to
Friday.
Friday.
Yeah, it is a weird thing.
Yeah.
I don't know why they would pit two shows against each other in a way, like,
Well, I don't know if they're just trying to kind of figure out where the fandoms are and where the crossover is. But what a time to be watching stuff. I mean, I know we talked about this a lot in the last few weeks. You've had Stranger Things has come back.
The Boys has just started again.
The Boys has just started again, which I'm loving, and
so good.
And has actually hit new heights of disgust for me.
I know.
Straight, not something I feel comfortable necessarily talking about on this particular show.
Right.
But I'm sure somewhere along the line, the Comic Crush will do a podcast about this series of The Boys, maybe at the end.
Heartstopper, that was amazing.
Heartstopper was fantastic. If you've not watched it yet, please do.
Make it the first thing you do. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Especially if you are enjoying Ms. Marvel, because it's again another. It's not fantastical or superpowered in any way, but it's a great little character study of teenagers.
In fact, I found Heartstopper to be closer to manga than anything else. Like in terms of books, like
it's very slice of life.
Yeah. In the way that I think that manga can cover seems to cover quite a wide range of subject matters and make good drama out of that. Although it wasn't quite as heightened as manga seems to be to me. I don't know a massive amount about manga, as you can probably fathom. And we've got One Piece coming soon. Speaking of manga, that's cool though. That's coming, I think that might be next year. The Boys, we've got Lock and Key, the final season starting sort of towards the end of June, and the Umbrella Academy also starting up in like I think next week maybe.
Oh wow, I'm very excited for Umbrella Academy.
Yeah, me too. Like I'm really pleased to see that. And again, may do a show on that. We don't know. We'll see what we've got room for, because there is lots happening at the moment on the Comic Crush. You've probably noticed, if you're kind of someone who goes to the website quite a lot, that we're doing a lot of film reviews now, which are kind of more in line with the wider stuff that out there, courtesy of our pal Rob Debb. He's doing a fantastic job, and you should take a look at those. He's going to be reporting from the Sundance Film Festival in London this coming week, so we'll try and get those up as fast as I can, depending on my sort of other work schedule. And there's more film stuff coming this year. It doesn't mean we're abandoning comics, though. If you go to the website today, you can find some reviews of Ted Knifer's Witch for Hire, which was excellent, and also should be interesting for fans of Miss Marvel, because it is in that kind of YA vein. And you can also find a review for The Defenders by Al Ewing and Javier Rodriguez. That was excellent as well. Do take a look at what I thought of that. I really loved it, and it is certainly something you guys should be taking a look at if you're Marvel fans. I mean, I don't really have much to say about this beyond that. I loved it. I'm down for whatever comes next,
Mm-hmm.
So certainly.
I am very excited to see what they do with it next week. I think it's a really promising start to the series, and I just think the whole cast is really, really fantastic. I really, really think that the casting of Kamala was just perfect. And I'll be really excited to see her develop in this series, and then go on to eventually be in the Marvels, which she's been cast and confirmed to be in the Marvels movie, which is going to be the next Captain Marvel film. So
Yeah, and quite a lot of that's, I don't know, that's quite a lot of that's been done. I know they were shooting in London a while back, although it has been kind of pushed back until 2023, hasn't it? I'm
Something like that.
unsure what the dates are now. It is hard to keep track. Yeah, so I think that's it. Is that it from us, Liz?
Yeah, I think
You have
that's it.
anything else you want to add?
Okay, yeah, well, I did love the.
Go for it.
Forgot to mention, I did love the scene with the matching Hulk costumes with her and her dad. Just
there is something
funny.
I did want to talk to you about along those lines. The actor playing the father, I might be mistaken, but I can't remember the name of the actor off the top of my head now. I meant to look it up just before we started. Is that not the guy who was leading the 10 Rings in Iron Man?
Really?
Yeah, I think that's the same actor
Really?
who was also in. I think he was also in Star Trek. He was like the captain at the opening, who
Really?
gets killed by Eric Banner's Romulan character. Yeah, I think that's the same actor.
Oh wow!
And they've just kind of aged him up or made him look like the age he is, because he's actually quite a youthful looking guy.
Right,
But I think
Marvel,
he's in
they
his.
they do like to do stuff like that. You know, every once in a while they'll just recast an actor that they
Yeah, and
like.
they've kind of used they've not used, they've worked with Gemma Chan like a couple of times. She's played two different
So
characters.
like there's been a number of actors you know, who've now done like, you know, two completely different parts,
Yeah,
which, you know, is cool. I like that. I think that's, you know,
yeah, it's interesting. It's a bit I think it's really the Gemma Chan stuff did confuse me, because it's just like, well, is she supposed to be, because they were quite close together, they weren't that far apart, whereas
no,
you know, Iron Man and this,
she's got like loads of prosthetics and makeup on in Captain
Yeah.
Marvel, so you know, you wouldn't recognize her. Whereas like Alfred Woodard or whatever, she, you know, like
yeah,
she plays, you know, the mom, you know, of the sort of who precipitates the, you know, kind of
Civil War.
yeah, Tony's, you know, sort of turnabout in Civil War, and then, you know, she plays Black Mariah, like, you know, two totally different characters, but without any sort of change in her look, particularly, you know.
No, yeah, and it is really just down to sort of good acting, that you feel like they're separate people, you know.
Right.
So that is always interesting, as you say, to see. But yeah, I'm going to find that out for next week. I'm going to look it up and try and remember. Feel free to prompt me. Or if anyone knows and you want to leave us a comment, please do. If you've got anything you want to say about Miss Marvel, the show, do drop us a line in the comments, or hit us up on Twitter at The Comic Crush, at Liz C. Jordan just there. And again, check out the comiccrush.com website, and do check out our Patreon and the web shop, because all of that helps keep us going and helps me pay for all this stuff. Liz, you can catch on her website, which is very good and worth checking out. She's got a lot of archival, good, interesting reviews for comics there, and do give her a follow on Twitter. That's it from us. Thank you so much. We'll catch you next time on The Crush. Hope you tune